What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Ready Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. Matt, just got back from the game myself. That's why we're doing this later. My voice, I feel like the team doesn't deserve for my voice to be sore for as crappy as that performance was. What do you make of it?
This was a watershed moment for the season. Like, if this team had any aspirations for doing anything, like, you can stick a fork in them. And I don't care if people are going to say, oh, well, it's only week 9 or whatever. They've only played 8 games. They still have 9 games left. Whatever. This was the perfect opportunity to take advantage of a team that was without its starting quarterback, without its top 2 starting wide receivers, without one of its star defensive ends, and you couldn't take advantage. And you come up with a measly 17 points, and you allow Colt McCoy to look like an NFL All-Pro. Like, I don't understand what's going on with this team. I have some theories, but this was pathetic. I mean, we got George Kittle back, didn't matter. Deebo Samuel played, didn't matter. Elijah Mitchell played, didn't matter. Jimmy Garoppolo, think about it this way. We did our predictions, right, of offensive MVP. I think you said Kittle would have 6 or 7 catches for 115 and a touchdown. He had 6 catches for 101 and a touchdown. I said that Ayuk would have 5 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk had 6 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown, right? Jimmy Garoppolo throws 70% completion percentage, throws for over 320 yards, and has multiple touchdown passes. And they lose by double digits to a team without those starting players that they had. This is pathetic. And to me, there's no excuse. To me personally, somebody's going to have to get the axe. And I think it's going to be D'Amico Ryans, to be honest. He looks over his skis. This defense is not what it was. They're not aggressive. They're not playing their spots correctly. They're not disciplined. I mean, it's pathetic. This performance was pathetic.
It really was. SF Dre Niners to say Matt Rant. Yeah. It's been an ugly game. To see them go out there and start the way they did. I got to my seats a little late. Stopped to get some quesadilla tacos, which were delicious, by the way, but that's aside from the point. They were moving the ball, and then you have George Kittle fumble, which is, okay, he hasn't been around the ball or on the field for a while. Maybe that's understandable, but then they just never recovered from that. And like you said, to make Colt McCoy look like he was, they played Kyler Murray better than they played Colt McCoy, which makes absolutely no sense at all. And I tweeted during the game, it's like they've never heard of a screen pass before, because these screen passes was getting them killed all day, and they were rushing into the backfield, and the Cardinals, rightfully so, were using their aggression and their kind of just their quickness against them. And we're drawing in the pass rushers just to plop it over their heads and watch James Conner go for, 30, 40 yards each time. It was insane. A lot of people are saying, heads need to roll. This is D'Amico Ryans' defensive scheme. Is it not? My question for you, Matt, did this team quit on the coaches today?
I don't want to say that. They just played like shit. That's all there is to it. I mean, I don't think that the 2 fumbles are like the team quitting or whatever. They just played poorly. They played very poorly. It looked like a schematic issue. It didn't look like they're playing. They were playing so far off the ball, and it's like, other than Christian Kirk, who are you worried about? What are you doing playing so far off the ball? And everything that Colt McCoy was able to do was underneath until they played man, and then Colt McCoy was getting one-on-one shots and kind of just throwing stuff up. But this goes back to more than just coaching and more than just, whatever. These were things that we talked about in the season preview, where I was like, listen, offensive line is an area of concern to me. Defensive back is a serious area of concern to me. And that's all played out. And it's just, this team has more defensive pass interferences than they do interceptions by 3 times over. The 49ers are tied for dead last in takeaways. They have the second worst turnover differential in the NFL. You want to know where we're losing games? That's where we're losing games. Bar none, quite frankly, this team has no ball hawks and no defensive playmakers outside of Nick Bosa. And that's including Fred Warner. Fred Warner's job is sideline to sideline, make tackles, make sure nothing gets behind you. And even he has looked worse this year under D'Amico Ryans. Like, my dream is for Robert Saleh to be one and done in New York and then come crawling back here and being the defensive coordinator, because they were much more fiery, much more technically sound underneath Robert Saleh than D'Amico Ryans. And I just think that it's D'Amico Ryans' first job. He's only been an assistant for, a few years. I think he's just in over his skis and he doesn't know what to do. You know, for once, like, we hammer on Jimmy all season when he plays like garbage. But for once, Jimmy was not the biggest problem today. He played okay. He threw a few hospital balls again. He had that really bad interception where he just did not even see Budda Baker, which, how you lose track of Budda Baker, I don't know. But overall, Jimmy was not the problem. The defense was a huge problem today. The only thing that really irked me about, and people are going to put this on Kyle. I don't think it's on Kyle. Like, y'all need to relax with that. Kyle didn't touch the defense, and the defense was a huge issue today. Kyle didn't fumble the ball twice. Kyle didn't have some of those drops. You know what I mean? Like, for me, like, the situation that they were in, I mean, they were down 17-0 before you could even blink because of those turnovers, right? Which is not on, like, fumbles are not on the coach. You know what I mean? Like, especially like the way that they happen. George trying to make something happen, somebody punches the ball from behind. Both were like punch outs from behind. That to me is not on the coach. The one area that was on Kyle that I just thought was super crazy was punting the ball from the 39. Like, that was the most cowardly punt I think I've seen in like the last 10 years. It was terrible.
Yep. I agree.
It was just a bad game all the way around. I think, Kyle kind of said it in the press conference. He was like, man, we had a good week of practice. He was like, I was really surprised they didn't play better.
Yep.
And I think absolutely that's the case. So,
yeah,
bro, we're going to get to Tom Compton. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I think, honestly, that's what kind of scares me the most is they're at a complete loss. I had a nice hour and a half, 2 hours sit in traffic trying to get out. So I was watching all of their press conferences. And it genuinely seemed like the coach, Shanahan, and each player that was up was at a loss. They had a complete loss of words as to what happened today. Each player said, no, we actually had a really good week of practice. And I honestly don't know. We just got to get back to it and be better. And I'm just going to throw this out there, Matt. This is I want to say the third time at least that I know of where offensive players have cited we saw something different other than the coaches prepared us for. So I don't know if that's something that's happening in the week of preparation to where they're preparing them for something different and the opposing team comes out and throws something different at them or what, or if they're just not good enough to overcome these changes when they're not getting the looks that they were expecting to get.
Right.
Probably the latter.
I'll address that. I'm going to address Melissa here. She says, disagree, Matt. Kyle has an anti-Ricky mentality. That's on him pulling Lenore is inexcusable. Lenore's a 5th round pick. You can pull him if you want to. And he definitely doesn't have an anti-Ricky mentality because Elijah Mitchell is a star back. So that doesn't hold water with me. No disrespect intended, but there's a lot of stuff like going on with other players and why they're not out there or whatever. So that's on whoever was drafting is drafting bad players first off. And we've discussed what their early pick, woes are or whatever, but as for the offense saying that they're seeing things that they hadn't prepared for or whatever, like, what do you think is going to happen? That excuse to me holds no water because you're like, and Steve brings it up, Lenore was inactive because he had a baby. So that's part of it. But even if that's not being the case or whatever, but as far as the offense goes, the offense is the one that's dictating where they're going, right? Like, the defense has to react to what you're doing. So that doesn't hold water with me. And like, it's not like they weren't able to move the ball today. They moved the ball. The turnovers are what killed them, So I don't know. That's a weird thing to me. The defense was completely on its heels all day though.
Yeah.
And I think
they had
that
no
was
answer.
the big thing.
They had no answer for Cole McCoy, for James Conner, Christian Kirk, like you said.
Think about that for a second. They had no answer for Colt effing McCoy.
Yep, exactly. Elijah barely got the ball, and Elijah, like Talanoa, only got to play.
That's because they were down 17-0. You can't run the ball when you have to play catch up.
It's hard to run the ball.
That's a function of those 2 turnovers. It completely changed the offense and what they were doing.
Yep.
They only carried the ball 11 times the entire game.
That's not winning football, but yeah, like you said, when you're down, you can't. And Jimmy, to his credit, actually played a winnable game today. He did enough for the team to win, but they couldn't overcome the rest of the mistakes, poor coaching, whatever it is you want to tally it all up to. Jimmy was not the reason they lost today. Jimmy didn't go above and beyond and win the game for the 49ers either, but you can't say this loss is because Jimmy Garoppolo was in and Trey Lance wasn't. This is one of those type of games. And I also think what's was frustrating is that they find a different way to lose each game.
Right.
It's like once they stop one hole from flooding, another one starts coming up. You know.
Yeah, I see. I hate this maybe unprepared on the defense. Again, I think people are hammering Kyle because he's just out there, right? He's the head guy or whatever. Kyle doesn't really touch the defense. That's like for his court. He's not a defensive guy. We've known that forever, right? Like, but when you see the offense, somebody on the offense plays really well every single week, right? And then other guys just don't step up. That to me is not being unprepared. That's having uneven talent and inconsistency, and that to me is not necessarily on the coaches. I think that's on the players. But when you only have, to be honest, Fred Warner's looked bad this year, not good, and Nick Bosa is the only guy on that defense that's actually been consistent and performing the entire season. So to me, I mean, so look at the disparity is crazy when they're I think they're fifth in yards, but they're 22nd in giving up points. So like they're just not stopping anybody. They're not forcing any turnovers. Like that's a huge thing, man. You can give up bad field position or whatever, but like case in point today, Bosa does a brilliant job of forcing a fumble on the backside on James Conner. Fred Warner has it dead to rights, and he just like face masks it, and it squibs out, and he can't get it. Like those type of opportunities, those gimme opportunities that the 49ers are not getting, those are point swings right there. Those are field position swings right there, and they're demoralizing. The Eric Armstead call when he got the sack, but like went underneath the chin strap, which you're not supposed to do. People thought it was like a bad call. I saw that online. It was a good call. That was like
I did, yeah. I thought it was a bad call. I saw the picture. It's the right call.
Yeah, right. That's the right call. The stupid penalty on Josh Norman. Like, what was Josh Norman doing? You're a 10-year vet, dude. You don't know better. And then he's shoving with Tavon Wilson. Like, that's the type of stuff. That's all defensive stuff, man. So to me, that's on the guy who runs the defense, and that's D'Amico Ryans. That's what you get with an inexperienced coach. Is those type of disciplinary mistakes. That's a first thing that you see is technique issues, discipline issues, and a lack of ability to force turnovers.
Yep.
And so that's, I mean, Bob Money says, what do you say? I'm calling for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's head. They need to be gone immediately. They got 5 years left on their contract. They're not going anywhere. D'Amico Ryan's getting axed first. And then it would be John Lynch, and then it would be Kyle finally. But all of them aren't going.
I just want to say real quick on the whole Norman thing. I thought it was interesting, and I said it in the chat. I think I tweeted out that any of the players that were up there saw nothing of what happened. They all had different reasons as to, I didn't see. I was on this side of the field. I was talking to coach. It's like, that's a little weird to me. I don't know. It seemed like a very important play of the game because it gave the Cardinals extra life, whereas instead they would have gone off the field and nobody even knew what happened. They asked Cliff Kingsbury about it, and he basically said, it kind of got taken the wrong way. I was just kind of being, have some sportsmanship or whatever he said exactly, being a little competitive with him, and I think he took it the wrong way. Who knows what it is? I know.
That whole thing was weird, though, because the penalty on Kingsbury came first, but they applied it second.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't get how they don't offset.
Because he was 6 yards onto the field, and the ref threw the flag right away. And then him and Norman got into it, and that's where the second flag came. So
it was weird. Also, there was a sequence.
Okay, hold on. We got to stop with everybody needs to get fired thing. We're not doing this, dude. That's not even realistic. I don't want unrealistic stuff in here. We always try to keep it real. Y'all need to keep it real. Not everybody is going to get fired.
No. I just want to say there was that sequence of plays where it was like I think it was Armstead's first sack, if I remember correctly, where it was like 2nd and 18 or whatever. Then it became 3rd and 18. Maybe it was a hold. I don't really remember exactly what backed them up. They're backed up inside their own 20. And then 3rd and 18 comes. They throw the screen pass. I forget to who. And Azeez Al-Shaair has the
missed
ball carrier, dead to rights.
Yep.
Missed. And it's like, are you joking? And then the sack, that also occurs. And then they get the penalty for the face mask, and that extends the drive. That drive ended in 7 points. Like
Yep.
stuff like that, you cannot give your opponents extended life when you're sitting there with a losing record on the outside of the playoffs looking in. And during this game, when Minnesota had lost, they were actually the 7th seed. If they would have just won the game, which everybody in the damn world except for them apparently felt like they could do, they would have kept the 7th seed. So now they're on the outside again looking in. Last I saw, the Rams were getting whooped, but it's not like they have any shot of catching the Rams as it is. So that doesn't
No,
really
they're not
mean
catching
much.
the Rams.
So now they have a Monday Night Football matchup next week against the Rams, which is going to be extremely ugly. I'm just telling you guys right now, don't expect to win. They couldn't beat Colt McCoy. There's no way they're going to beat Matt Stafford. It comes down to angles. It comes down to execution. It comes down to leadership. There was a very interesting point in Jimmy Garoppolo's press conference where they asked him, Matt, who steps up in these moments? Who steps up when a leader, is needed? And he goes, "Oh, basically all of us. We all kind of step up and chip in." That tells me no one. That tells me absolutely no one. And Perry was the first that I saw pointed out, and I was listening to it as a habit. I'm like, yeah, that's a great point. If all of you guys step up, nobody steps up because you can't all be talking at the same time. It's BS. Don't.
It shows how badly that they're missing both Richard Sherman and Joe Staley.
Yeah.
In terms of locker room leaders, they don't have that guy.
And Buck.
And honestly, Kittle, for as rah-rah as he is, like I see him more as like the go-between for everybody. Like he's everybody's hype man, but to me, Kittle is not a leader. Yeah. That's gonna be like weird for people to like listen to, but he doesn't come across to me as a leader. You know what I mean? Like he comes across as a hype man. Oh, this guy's excellent. This guy's playing well. Tight end you. Let's get going. Come on, guys. Let's play. To me, that's not leadership. That's cheerleading. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's great. Like, I love Kittle to death. And he came back and, he did a great job, But that's not leadership.
It's not. It
Warner,
really isn't.
Listen, Dylan Caraballo says Warner is. Warner's a leader by example, but he's not a vocal leader. And sometimes you need a guy that's going to, like, get on your ass,
Yep.
So, yeah, exactly. I don't know.
You talked about, that punting from the 39. And if I remember correctly, if it's a play you're talking about.
It was weird, dude. Kyle was pissed about that.
Yeah.
I think they had the wrong. So, situationally, I think they had the wrong personnel out there, or like they were, the play didn't get in time or whatever. And Kyle didn't want to waste the timeout, I feel like, because they were still trying, okay, can we come from behind? My thing is, though, if your kicker can't kick a 55-yard field goal, why the fuck is he on the roster?
Yep. Should have stuck with Joey Sly.
Joey Sly would have banged that thing. It might have gone left or right, but it would have gone over the crossbar at some point. But I don't know, man. Also, to your point about the Rams, I actually think that game – this is like the sports better in me. I actually think that game will be closer than you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's at home on a Monday night after an embarrassing home loss, and most teams come out and overperform the next week. So I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think that it's they're going to come out more fiery than expected. And if not, then it's Trey Lance season.
Yeah. Stewart has just dropped into what's been said, but with the schedule looking so manageable, how is this team not playing with more desire? After Arizona, it's LA, Jacksonville, Houston, Atlanta. They could easily rattle off 3 out of the next 4 wins. They could easily lose 3 out of the next 4. It really depends on which team shows up.
That was the problem with today's game, because it's like if all they had to do was win today, they could have lost next week. They're 4-5, but then can rattle off a bunch of wins in a row, and then you're looking at 7-5, 8-5, and you're right there in the playoffs.
Yep. It was just so many disappointing performances all around. We were in a section. I got nosebleed seats. I never fork out the good money, right? I got nosebleed seats. We're in section like 406 or whatever, and I'm surrounded by Cardinals fans. Surrounded. And all of them were like trying to cheer. Like I felt like they felt bad for me because they saw me and the other 49ers fans around me. And they were just like, dude, we don't even know what's going on. Like we are just completely bewildered at this performance right now. We thought we were going to come out here, just come for fun, watch our team get whooped. But yeah, whatever. We're still 7-2 or whatever. No, they were like astounded that they were playing so well. And I kept hearing them say, like, I thought this defense was supposed to be good. It's like, yeah, they were supposed to be. They were built on a defensive line with the secondary to follow, basically. And that whole strategy formula has not paid off. not with the injuries. They haven't been able to overcome that.
It's really weird too because like you look at the defensive line and it's supposed to be the area that this team is the deepest, but it's like Bosa and a bunch of mediocre shit.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry, Armstead for what he's producing is not worth the $20 million that the team is paying him.
He's
We
not.
said it last year. He's still
Yeah.
stealing money.
I
D
thought it was
Ford
funny
back on
too
IR again.
how he said in the press conference, well, I see a lot of people say stuff about me in the media, so I just come out here and do what I do. They're right in saying that, Armstead. You do not take over a game the way like DeForest does, the way like Bosa
Right.
does, the way like Justin Smith did. You don't do
Right.
that. You're a solid run stuffer and good for maybe a
He's
sack
not even a
every
great
other
run
game.
stuffer. He's weak against the run, actually. If you look at his PFF grade, he's terrible against the run, especially when they move his ass inside.
Yeah.
That's where they're missing like Kinlaw, who is more effective, even if he's not getting. Because like you can't sit here, Eric Armstead, with your 2 sacks in 8 games and be a bad player against the run.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to get sacked, like Kinlaw didn't get sacks, but he's a run stuffer. You know what I mean? Like at least he can get in there. You know?
Yeah.
No, Eric Armstead made his money off the back of Nick Bosa and DeForest Buckner.
Yep.
Like,
and we all said it then too. Yeah.
Right. I said it then. I've never been a believer in Eric Armstead. He's just a non-producer. He's a body.
And can I just say this real quick, with all due respect, he's mentally soft. He's mentally soft because if what somebody like Orion Sakamoto says on Twitter gets to you to the point to where you have to not only get at him on Twitter, but then confront him in the locker room the next time you see him, come on.
Wait, what?
Yes, this was a story back then when he came out there. He didn't want to answer Sakamoto's questions because Sakamoto criticized him on Twitter online.
Right.
So you're mentally
Wow.
soft. You're mentally soft. That's what it is.
That's bad, dude. That's bad.
So you are a
That's
professional
bad.
athlete making millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, close to 100 million. That's what you just got an extension for. And you cannot take critique online when you do not perform up to that level of expectation. Get out of here.
Right.
Get out of here. So
I mean, he was all happy about having a sack today, but like that penalty wiped out another sack, so that's like a wash. He didn't really make any other tackles of that. I mean, Bosa almost had a sack. He missed McCoy by like a shoestring.
Yeah.
But he had multiple tackles for losses. He had the forced fumble. Again, he was just everywhere on the defensive side of the ball. So, like, you look at a position that was supposed to be a strength, it's actually a weakness, which then exacerbates missing Dre Greenlaw, who Azeez Al-Shaair is a capable backup, but he's not Dre Greenlaw, which puts more pressure on Fred Warner, who probably feels like he has to field more of a role and is making mental mistakes because he's worried about what the other guy is doing instead of what he's doing. And then you have that soft-ass secondary when the team's not getting home. You have stuff today where Colt McCoy was like 24 of 28 or whatever it was. Like, no, I mean, defensively, this team is a huge disappointment. The offense is about like whatever, right? Like, you know, we had some injuries or whatever, but Jimmy's been Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy gonna throw them hospital. I thought he took out Ayuk or Sanu today.
Dude, the whole entire stadium, there was a loud gasp. Everybody just completely was like, "Oh my!" Because he landed and then his knee buckled, and he somehow got up. I have no idea how.
Honestly, that first throw to George, I was like, dude, Jimmy hates George Kittle.
I missed it. I didn't see the first throw.
He threw it high and behind him, and then Kittle gets sandwiched by 2 Cardinals, and I'm just like, damn, dude.
Yeah. It's
also
right when you get him back.
Also, by the way, since we're talking about wide receivers getting hit, man, RIP to Brandon Ayuk's future children. He took a shoulder right to the nuts today. Yeah. They showed him on the sideline, and he got crotched big time, and it looked terrible.
He looked pretty.
I saw it when he got hit, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
But he held on to the ball. Brandon Ayuk had a hell of a game today. I was very impressed with him.
Very, very impressed.
Very nice punt return too.
Back to he carried one out all the way to like the 40. I want to say, if I remember correctly.
And it's like,
he finished with.
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I called that shit.
You did, and for tooting our own horns here. Yeah. That penalty. Armstead doesn't get that stupid face mask, and both of my predictions were right. Kittle and Armstead. So I got to do it. I'm not right often, guys, so I got to celebrate when I am.
Hey, Greg Brownstead, you about to get banned, son.
I'm missing it.
Jim Harbaugh can't beat Ohio State, bro. We don't need him back here.
Jimmy couldn't even beat Jim couldn't beat Seattle when it mattered
Right.
most. No thanks.
Right.
Hey Zach, hey Matt, do you think Josh Norman has to go? Leave this team. Yes.
Yeah, I don't see what positive. He's got one interception on a tip drill, and other than that, he's got a bunch of penalties.
Yeah.
Like,
he hurts his team when he
I mean,
helps.
if we thought that like Sherm was washed, like Norman is like bleached. Like, dude needs to go to like Goodwill. Like he's toast.
What cracks me up too is that and you got it if you're an athlete, I get it, but he plays with that same mentality like he was with Washington or Carolina, I think was when he had his best
Yeah.
years. And
Yeah,
he
he's still
acts
playing
like
like he's that guy, and he's clearly
yes,
not that guy.
no, he wants to play hero ball. Who the hell
Right.
are you, Josh Norman? Stay sound in your assignment.
It was
Don't hurt
so
the team.
it was so funny because there was a play where it was two wide receivers set on the left side. I think they had put the running back out wide, and K1 is playing the slot, Norman on the outside. Norman points to the underneath route, which was the correct mental call, but then Norman had to cover the slant, and he was like 6 yards behind the slant, and it was like a first down. And it's just like, dude, it's clear you know what they're trying to do, but you can't make it there.
Yeah.
It's pathetic, man.
Yep. David Yank says, as much as we complain about Ward and Tart's non-ball hawking skills, they don't give up a lot of big plays, and they are sure tacklers.
The safeties weren't the problem. It's been the corners the entire year.
Yep.
I thought Hufanga played pretty well. He was on the ball making tackles. It was Alshire missing tackles. It was Emmanuel Mosley taking a terrible angle on one of those plays. I think it was a touchdown play.
It was.
Right? It was. I mean, there were a couple times where the safeties were out of position. I think on that screen pass in the third quarter that Connor housed, Warner did the right thing. He's supposed to pursue to the sideline to force him back inside to help, because there was nothing but green grass in front of Connor on the outside. There was nobody there, and he knew it. So he had to overrun, trying to draw a block in the back. And then the safeties just completely, like the safeties and corners and everybody else just completely over pursued the play, and Connor cut it back for a touchdown. Yeah. It was real bad.
Bad angles all day. Stewart says, Bosa said the 49ers knew Colt would screen the hell out of them, but they still couldn't do anything to stop it. The run defense is soft as hell, and the blitzes were getting picked up and gashed.
Like I said, Bosa and a bunch of mediocre shit.
And that's sad when you literally know what the opposing team is trying to do and you can't stop it. That means you're a bad team. Point out, point flat. Yeah. Simple as that. They're a bad team. And I said it during the game. Last week wasn't them riding the ship. I was wrong if I said that. Hear me clear now. The Bears are just a horrible team. The 49ers are still a very bad team. And guys, if they somehow sneak into the playoffs walking ass backwards blind, they will be for sure one and done. I guarantee you this defense is not stopping even Jordan Love's Green Bay Packers with how poorly.
I mean, I'm going to call it right now. This team's not making the playoffs.
No, but yes, no.
No way, no how. No. I'll put it to you this way. Let's do this right now, Zach. We like to give shit away. If the 49ers make the playoffs, we'll give away a jersey to a subscriber.
Yep. You heard it here, guys. 29-minute mark. Screenshot this, record it, tweet us at this in 12 weeks or however long the playoffs are? 10 weeks. Yeah. For the record, I took credit for a very funny joke in our section today when Jimmy threw that hospital ball to Sanu where we thought he buckled his knee. And I thought that was a very common term. Maybe it's just common amongst 49ers fans because we see it so much. But I said, there's another hospital ball from Jimmy. Entire section cracked up with laughter. I felt very good about myself, Matt. So you got to take the little wins when you get them.
Good job, comedian.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a couple. So I got to address this.
Go ahead.
I've seen a couple people ask about Diamador Lenore and why he's not playing. He had a baby, at least for this week. I can't speak to the other weeks, but for this week, he just had a baby.
Yep.
So I'm sure they gave it to him off. Ambry Thomas was active today. I didn't see shit from him.
Yeah. And again, you talked about Acebur's comment earlier, and we're going to be wrapping things up here shortly, guys. Matt's exhausted. Short week.
I worked a 13-hour shift last night because of stupid daylight savings time. And then I had a very important thing to do today, so I was kind of anxious about it. I only slept an hour and a half, so I was like dead.
But we're going to wrap things up here. But why Tom Compton and not a Jalen Moore?
I don't think they had time to prep Jalen Moore for right tackle. But I will say this. Tom Compton makes all my criticism of Mike McGlinchey kind of ring hollow. He makes McGlinchey look like a damn all-pro.
Yeah, he did.
I'm telling you right now, I'm just like, yeah, just resign McGlinchey. It can't, like, you can't take chances you're going to get something like Tom Compton.
And I don't know. I understand that maybe within the last week you didn't have time, but you've had time this whole season and they just have neglected it. That's what's frustrating to me. And we
Yeah.
called it last week. If Jeff Wilson gets the nod, is Trey Sermon inactive? Sure enough, 12 o'clock rolls around. Trey Sermon's on the inactive list. There was a comment in here earlier talking about
That he was taking off all the 49ers social media stuff.
Yeah, very interesting if so.
That's a pretty childish response, I think. See, and that's where it goes two ways, right? Where like Brandon Ayuk gets in the doghouse and his reaction is, well, I need to look internally to see what I'm doing wrong so that I can do better. Trey Sermon's in the doghouse and he's like, oh, I'm going to pout. And he's going to take the OBJ route. So I'm going to watch Trey Sermon because if that's true and he continues with that, he can get gone because we don't have time for all that BS.
At least from the outside looking in, that's how it does
Yeah.
appear. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Dylan Caraballo, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. We are getting 7 seed. Yeah, right, dude. Yeah, right.
I love the optimism. I
This
really love the optimism.
Cardinals team did not have Kyler Murray, did not have DeAndre Hopkins, did not have AJ Green, no JJ Watt. The 49ers just got George Kittle back. Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle played their best games of the season along with Jimmy Garoppolo, who played his best game of the season. And they lost by 14. This team ain't doing shit. Sorry, dude. I love the optimism. I wish I could be optimistic with you. But unless they go Trey Lance, they ain't doing nothing.
No. Frank Salidivar says the eventual narrative is that it's Jimmy's fault not catching those passes.
Caraballo, sorry, dude.
And he gave up 20 points last time into the Super Bowl. Look, I already said it. This game was not Jimmy Garoppolo's fault. He played well enough for the team to win. But he's done plenty of ugliness in the past. This specific game was not Jimmy's fault.
No, today wasn't.
No, but he played well.
The Super Bowl, definitely, a lot of that was on Jimmy. He threw 2 picks and overshot a wide open Emmanuel Sanders in the end zone. So, yeah.
You could probably say season tickets. It's not going to happen.
Nah, I can't. Yeah. I'm not that far gone.
Yeah, wild card is wide open. Yeah,
today's game was wide open, and the Cardinals definitely drove a truck right through Levi's. By the way, I want to talk about this too because they still haven't won a home game in well over a calendar year. I'm of the mind that the 49ers have no home. Levi's Stadium is not a home. They haven't had a home since they left Candlestick. And moving to Santa Clara, I think, was a huge mistake. And this team is going to pay for it until they leave Santa Clara.
Yep.
I agree. Getting to the stadium sucks. Getting out of it sucks, as you can attest to.
Yep. Took me 2 hours.
It's built in a business park. The original design was designed for Candlestick Point, which is why it's open because the winds of Candlestick go like right through it and cools everybody off. If anybody knows and they've been to Candlestick 100% was like, even in the sun, you were like, dude, it's kind of cold. Right? Like it's cold. The wind's whipping. Like, so now you're in Santa Clara where there's not a lot of wind, right? You're right next to an airport. It's in an urban jungle. So it's like hot. It's right next to Great America. It's in a big giant parking lot. Everybody sitting on the sun side is just like, we can't handle it. The stadium is poorly designed to the point where they can't shade the sun side because of the airport. It's just a disaster all the way around. They're having infighting with the city of Santa Clara. That whole thing has been a disaster. So it's no wonder they don't do well there. It's not a home for the 49ers. Plain and simple.
It really isn't. I'm convinced it's on some sort of Indian burial ground or something because it's cursed. It really is cursed. Ever since the christening of Jimmy Ward giving up 3 touchdowns to Brandon Marshall when Jay Cutler was with the Bears, if I remember correctly, they have not had any sort of success in this building outside of the 2019 championship game. I mean, it's very unfortunate. It really is. But
yeah,
we're going to wrap things up here. But I just want to say, you talked about Brandon Ayuk. You talked about George Kittle. And the two were great for the Niners today. Like you said, 6 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown for Kittle. And 6 catches for 89 yards with a touchdown for Ayuk. And Debo also added 5 receptions for 63 yards. And actually, Elijah, too, 5 receptions for 43 yards. So the ball spread around all. I mean, there were 28 completions to 7, 8 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 receivers, including Mitchell. I
Yeah.
like that. But it's not enough when your defense is Swiss cheese, sadly.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's address
Um,
some of these comments too. Joey Arredondo, the Jimmy G hypocrisy is all over today. QB wins mattered for 2 years, but not today, apparently. I don't know what you're referring to. Can you clarify that? Because I want to come back to that. And Dylan, they agree with me because I'm right. Like, who is literally worse than us? Because they're ahead of us in the standings. And I know you're not talking about Minnesota, who's played everybody super tough. Like, Minnesota gave Baltimore all they could handle today.
it took them to overtime, right?
Yep.
Yep. Beat Seattle.
Yep.
Yep. So it's tough. My question for you, and we'll wrap it up after a couple more comments, maybe if Joey gets back to you. Kyle was asked, obviously, do we see Trey Lance after? When do we see Trey Lance? Do you make a switch?
I think
he
somebody
said
asked
next
him,
week.
do you anticipate starting him next week? And he was
Yes,
like,
yes.
probably not.
And he chuckled.
Yeah, he was like, probably not. But then he followed it up with something that, like, again, makes you think, where, like, he was like, oh God, what'd he say? Oh, he said, I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about this team and this game, which is so different than what you really, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, as a head coach, you need to be. You cannot focus only on the immediate and not think of the long term as well. You need to focus on both, or else nothing's ever going to work out. You're only going to focus on what's in front of you and not look down the line.
Right.
It's like somebody spending all the money they have and not saving anything because I'm focused on having a good time right now.
Right.
No, you need to do both.
Exactly. Dylan Caraballo, the Vikings lost to Cooper Rush. Yeah, and we lost to the Cardinals without Kyler Murray, without DeAndre
Colt
Hopkins,
McCoy.
without AJ Green, without JJ Watt.
Yeah.
So by your logic, the 49ers are trash too and won't make the playoffs. That's why they agree with me, because I'm right. Thank you for making my argument for me, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, the Cowboys still have a hell of an offensive lineup.
Yo, the
outside
Cowboys
of
got
Dak.
bopped today by the Broncos, though.
They did, and that was
This is
very
peak. By the way,
surprising.
this is peak Cowboys, right?
Yep.
5-2 to start the season, and then lose like their next 6 games. That's super Cowboys.
Yep. Joey cleared up. He said Jimmy G stands don't criticize his poor play for who knows how long because he was a winner, but today they're parading his performance despite
I don't pay
losing.
too much attention to that. All I'm saying is Jimmy G was not the problem today.
Yeah.
Jimmy G is quite often the problem, but not today.
Yeah. Dylan says, yes, I said that, but we are still better than them. The Cowboys? I don't think so.
What? No, I think he's saying we're better
Or the
than
Vikings. The Vikings.
No.
Well, we play them in a couple of weeks, so we'll see.
I mean, that's cool.
I don't think so, though. I think the Vikings are better.
Right.
Overall, just
like
better.
they've played better teams tougher than we've played better teams.
Yeah.
And yeah, they have like the Cowboys game or whatever, but dude, everybody loses to weird. Like, look at today. Look at who you're telling me that anybody would have expected like Green Bay to rush out Jordan Love and they score 7 points and against the Chiefs' terrible defense, and the Chiefs can only muster 13 points. Like, Patrick Mahomes is averaging 12 points per game over the last 4 weeks. Anything can happen, man.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that like we can't beat the Vikings on one Sunday. I'm saying overall, if you look at all the performance, team is last in creating turnovers. Team is second to last in turnover differential. The team is 22nd in points given up. The team is only 16th in points for. Like, it's a thoroughly mediocre team, dude.
Yep.
All the way around.
It really is. And again, stop defending mediocre performances from this team.
Right.
As 49ers fans, we deserve better. We really do. And I'm tired of seeing fans make excuses for Kyle Shanahan, make excuses for Jimmy Garoppolo, make excuses for all of them. They're getting well paid, more than any of us will ever see in our lifetime. They need to put up. I'm tired of it. I want to see some results. They got one good season.
Right.
That's it.
Hey, Dylan, what if I'm right? Then what are you going to put on the line? Yeah. He says, remember me when we're in the 7th seed, screenshot this, and I'm getting that jersey. What's going to happen if they don't? See, because you don't just get something for free. We're not going to give you the jersey if they don't make the playoffs. We're going to do it randomized. But if you want to put something on the line, I'm willing to make that bet. If you want to put something,
Let's make it interesting.
what's a jersey go for? $120?
About $100, yeah,
If you
roughly.
lose $120 super chat, how about that?
There you go. Ace Press says, wish we started Trey from the jump. They should have.
Yeah.
There it is. He says, I'll get you a jersey.
I mean, I got enough jerseys, dude. My wife will kill me if I put another jersey in that closet.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're going to say thank you to our sponsors, and we're going to start off with MyBookie. Head over to MyBookie.ag, guys. I know the Sunday night game is going on, but there is still the Monday night game. I almost won some money during the fight Saturday night, and then during the game today, I went out on a little of a wild bet, Matt, and I bet there would be a safety just because the odds were like plus 500 or something like that. If I bet, I would have won like close to $500 if there was a safety. I figured, why not?
In tonight's game?
Yeah, in tonight's game. No, in the Niners game.
Oh, okay.
So I took the odds.
There kind of was almost one in tonight's game.
Yeah, I don't know. Matt Stafford avoided two.
Threw a whirling dervish interception, but
yeah. And then I also bet the Niners to win 7-12. Same bet I placed last week. Paid off for me last week. Didn't pay off for me this week. But you guys can still bet on the Bears and Steelers game if you head to mybookie.ag. Use code Hive as in HIVE. You'll get your first deposit instantly matched all the way up to $1,000, guys. You deposit $50, I'll match you $50. Deposit $200, I'll match you $200. And you'll also get a free $20 casino chip to bet in the MyBookie casino. And also, once you have signed up, if you refer a friend, that friend will get a $250 match on their first deposit. So mybookie.ag, code Hive, bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Shout out to MyBookie for sponsoring the show. Next, we got to say thank you to Acre Gold. Red and Gold Center podcast. We got to shout out Acre Gold. Click the link in the description, guys. Head over to Acre Gold, and you can start buying gold for as little as $50 a month. You do not have to fork out hundreds of dollars anymore like the old days. Once you reach the market price, 2.5 grams, Acre Gold will send you 2.5 gram gold bar, gold stamp, as Matt calls it, discreetly in the mail. Thank you, Acre Gold. Appreciate you guys very much. And last but not least, shout out to 81 Vino, guys. Terrell Owens started his own wine company, 81vino.com. Enter code Hive. You'll get 10% off your purchase and free shipping on 2 or more bottles. Go support Terrell Owens as he ventures into the wine business. Matt, wrapping things up here. Final thoughts on today's loss.
Yeah. It was a tough one, and I want to say, like, we're talking a bunch of trash and stuff like that with Dylan, and a lot of people in here are upset. But listen, we love the back and forth. This is part of it, right? This is pain we all suffer together. I still love this team. I still want this team to do really well. I'm very interested to see what they do going forward, right? Whether they do Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, or whatever. I'm interested to see what happens in the offseason. What changes are going to be made? You're looking at an entire DB room that's going to be turned over. You know what I mean? So there's a lot here to be interested in, if not the on the field action, which has been really tough to watch. But going forward, they just got to take it one game at a time, man. They have to going forward. They have to beat the teams that they are clearly better than. They need to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, like, no question. They cannot let Trevor Lawrence come out and Colt McCoy them. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't get it against the Rams, but Jacksonville and they play Houston this year. Like, those are infinitely winnable games, and the teams that are close to your level, man, you got to come out, and you got to come out with a fire each and every week. This team has come out with uneven energy and uneven performances, and consistency is going to be key. So if that doesn't happen, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to see a lot of turnover this offseason for sure.
Yeah. And what's unfortunate too is that such a simple fix, and maybe I should say switch, would give this team so much extra leeway with the fans. And you guys all know what I'm talking about. Making the switch under center. Even if Jimmy isn't the reason they lost today, he clearly wasn't enough for them to win.
Right. And Jimmy didn't elevate.
No, he did maybe above par, but not enough to where you were like, oh my God, Jimmy.
He was above average for Jimmy. He was still lacing balls all over the yard. And like,
Statistically.
look at the great, like, Kittle made a great catch in the end zone. BA made a great catch in the end zone. Juszczyk made that fantastic catch on the sideline. Like, you're talking about guys having to go above and beyond to catch these balls that like should be hitting them in the hands and in stride or whatever.
Yep.
I know Debo had another drop today, but that was one where it's like high on a slant.
Yep.
You got to put that in his hands out in front of him so that he can like run. So yeah, so Jimmy wasn't the reason they lost today, but make no mistake, Jimmy wasn't exactly good today.
No, exactly. So if you make the switch to Trey Lance, so many fans, I'd say, I'm not even being, facetious. I'd say 90% of the fans would be willing to give this coaching staff another year's time leeway just
And
because they
that's
understand.
that's every coach with that's the
Yes.
MO, right?
Yes.
Struggling team, the coach and the GM draft a rookie quarterback, and it automatically adds a year to what you're able to do.
Yeah. So they could make that switch, and I think they will. I think, honestly, unfortunately, they're going to wait until they're out of playoff contention to then make the switch.
Yeah.
But again, and I've talked about it before, what scares me is Jimmy the team just missing the playoffs. Jimmy going okay, typical Jimmy, and then next season we go into it as, well, maybe we still stick with Jimmy. Let Trey sit a little
No, they're
longer.
not going to do that. I guarantee you, they're not going to do that. They're too pot.
I
They're
hope
too pot
not.
committed to Trey Lance to do that.
I hope
I
not.
100% guarantee you they will not do that.
Yeah. But I want to see Trey. I want to see Trey.
Yeah.
Ty Anderson said, I want Trey Smith's next guy, but man, if Kittle and Ayuk don't fumble, Jimmy probably has the 49ers up 14-7 going into the second quarter. Probably, but the defense was still switch cheese, and they weren't giving up or stopping anyone, unfortunately.
Right. And it's not. I know this is hard for a lot of people to grasp because everybody's in the moment, and it's hard to see the horizon, right? We're all very instant gratification type people. Playing Trey Lance now is not about this year. It's about next year, when you can shore up some of those weaknesses, when Jimmy's $27 million comes off the books, when the cap, which was hurt by COVID, goes back up to where it was supposed to be ahead of time. And instead of being like 4 million under the cap, now you're 40 million under the cap because of two moves, the cap going up and Jimmy being gone. And now all of a sudden you can start supplementing the roster. And Trey has that experience that Trevor Lawrence is getting this year, that Zach Wilson was getting this year, that Mac Jones is getting this year, where you're adjusting to the speed of the game so that you come into 2022 not having to learn how to play to the speed of the NFL game. You just need to develop yourself and develop your own talents and not be so deer in the headlights. So this is about getting Lance experience so that next year he can hit the ground running and be a franchise quarterback right away. That's what that's about. It's not necessarily about, well, Lance would have only got us this many points today.
Yeah.
That's the immediacy thing going on, but it's not the long-term thing,
No, and let me just add that we'll close things out here, Matt. How long has Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers?
Right, and hasn't
Hall
learned a
of
damn
Fame
thing. He
quarterback.
still looks terrible.
Yes, exactly. So sitting doesn't automatically equal success. If not, there would be a guaranteed minimum red shirt year for all quarterbacks if coaches knew that was the formula. It doesn't automatically.
And here's the thing. Everybody points out the Mahomes thing. Mahomes had a couple of really fantastic years, but remember how much talent he had. He went to a team that was like a legitimate like playoff team that had legitimate weapons, Tyreek Hill and like all those guys. But now look, as you see some of the pieces are either injured or aren't there, or Patrick Mahomes' salary is starting to take away from some of that. You're starting to see Patrick Mahomes slip.
Yeah.
Because again, there wasn't enough dev time, right? I think it would have been better for him to get a lot of these mistakes out early rather than getting immediate success and kind of like it's every young person's thing, right? I got something immediately, so I don't have to work on it.
Yep. Exactly.
I'm not saying that he doesn't work, but you can see the holes in his game. Stuff that he got away with in year 1 and year 2, he's not getting away with anymore. Yep. And he's looked pretty bad. He leads the league in interceptions.
Yep.
So,
2 comments I want to touch on, then we'll wrap things up. Frank Solidivar, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Frank S. Why no all 22 on the referees? So crucial in this game. And no team, player, coach can speak or criticize referee calls. Makes me think something stinks. Could be the money line.
Well, they're not allowed to criticize referees because you don't want them to criticize referees.
Yep.
Right? Referees need to be above reproach and they need to be respected because they're the officiators of the rules. The big issue is, and I don't believe in the money line, whatever, that's all stupid stuff. You'll have occasionally like that NBA referee who was like betting on games. Forgot his name. Like Tim something or other. But the big problem with NFL referees is that they're not full-time employees.
Yeah.
They need to be full-time employees who get trained on this stuff year-round. Like their job in the off-season should be watching film on their calls and their games and, controversial calls and this and this and that. And those are the things that you can actually do to improve your refereeing. It's like just repeatedly repeat. Like if you're only doing it like if you're a little league referee, right, or a little league umpire or whatever, you're not going to call balls and strikes very well. Like major league umpires are there for the most part, and we criticize them if they're at like 93% accuracy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the NFL referees definitely should be, they definitely need to be full-time employees.
Yeah, I would.
And he's saying the referees' calls should be consistent in their calls for both teams. They are. You're pot invested in your own team.
Yeah, unfortunately, we all are.
Right. Like people go, oh, Bosa never gets holding calls. Bosa got a holding call today.
He doesn't get enough. I'll give him that. He doesn't get enough. And yeah, I would love to see the day where they, at the very least, had to have their own press conferences after the game. It should be each team and the refs and answer up to the calls they made. And then this last comment, I wanted Trey in because we were supposed to be the good team that happened to have a high pick, but now I'm questioning it with the incompetence I'm seeing every week. They could just be a bad team that very well deserved to be where they picked.
I knew they had holds going into the season. Everybody was talking about Super Bowl roster. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll wrap things up there, guys. There are a ton of other comments I'm sorry we're not going to be able to get to. But thank you guys all for tuning in tonight. It was a great show, even though it was a bad loss, an ugly loss. I saw Hung Fat commented, perhaps the worst loss in Kyle Shanahan history with the 49ers. It could be.
No.
Which one would you say?
Super Bowl was the worst loss of Kyle Shanahan's 49ers career.
Most disappointing, maybe. But yeah.
It was the worst one, too. Come on.
Yeah. It was. Maybe regular season matchup.
Come on. They got out to a huge lead and then stopped going to Deebo Samuel when it was working the whole time. Like, he completely changed what he was doing.
I changed the caveat to regular season, so that way.
Okay, that's fine.
I would argue that.
Also, let me address K. Carpenter. OBJ wants to be a Seahawk. Good. Perhaps he'll kill Russell Wilson's career like he's killed every other quarterback's career he's been on. That dude's a cancer. You can keep him away from this team.
Yeah, maybe he'll tear up that locker room because.
Like, do you remember when Skip Bayless used to call T.O. Team Obliterator?
I do not.
That's OBJ, dude. That's OBJ. OBJ is the 21st century Terrell Owens. He just ruins every situation.
And hey, look, they left, and what did the Browns do today?
Right, they smoked Cincinnati.
Whooped them. So they're getting together. They're really kind of.
And people were surprised by that. I'm like, it's been like that since Odell got there.
Yep.
Because Baker feels like he has to feed him the ball, and he's not making the reads he's supposed to.
Yep. But all right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a fantastic night. We will be back later in the week to preview the Monday night game against the Rams. That should be fun.
It should be fun. Everybody, thank you as always for joining us. It was a tough one today. I know everybody's in an emotional state. Hopefully the week will kind of calm that down and we can kind of prepare for the Rams. Everybody mentally prepare. We don't know what we're going to see, but, it might not be the best still. So hopefully it's not as, bad as this week, as disappointing as this week, and hopefully we can get a good outcome. So thank you as always for joining us. And until next time, go Niners.